John Fisher speaks! Well, sort of. He broke his silence with the Las Vegas Review-Journal with Mick Akers. He had a lot to say. He found a safe place to say it. And honestly, I applaud John Fisher. I applaud John Fisher for speaking for once. It is actually good to hear what the owner of the A's has to say, whether you agree with it or not. And I think A's fans have for a very long time deserved some insights into what John Fisher was thinking, into how John Fisher sees this franchise, sees himself, sees this fan base. It needs to happen more. All right, I'm not going to get into all the quotes he had. I'm not going to counterpoint, break down all the different ways I would have pushed back or maybe things I don't agree with. But I can tell you for sure that reading this, there were some things that did jump out to me. First and foremost, the thing that jumped out to me the most is that John Fisher said he does not plan on selling the team. We all know that. Come on. He's trying to get a loan from Goldman Sachs with team equity in the loan. He's selling a piece of the team to a bank if he can get this deal done. But he's going to keep the ownership. The thing that also jumped out to me as interesting is that he kept saying his family would be helping pay for this. That clearly means that he independently does not have the funds to get this done. If he did, he wouldn't be going through Goldman Sachs, offering up equity in the team. He wouldn't be going to his family to get the rest of the cash to get this deal done. He's all in on Vegas. He's out on Oakland. We all know this. If you want to read more about what he has to say, how he has to say it, you can check out that interview. He also did a commentary. Same paper. And this is where I start to take grievance. I said on April 20th, right here, the morning after the news came out about the binding agreement that wasn't for the Wild Wild West site, which they almost immediately pivoted off of. I said pay attention and pay close attention to who the A's speak to. And that statement could not have ended up more prophetic. Here it is. Keep an eye on that. Who they talk to matters. Wait and see who they talk to. Is it going to be to somebody like me that's followed this very closely, or is it going to be to somebody that maybe didn't follow this as closely that they can slide on by without answering any hard questions? We'll see. So what happened after that? I had an exchange with the A's about doing an interview with A's president Dave Kaval. Dave Kaval was not made available to me or to really anybody else in the market. He did one interview. It was a rights holder exclusive, which doesn't even make any sense with NBC Bay Area. If it was really truly a rights holder exclusive, he would have done it on the A's pre- and post-game show. Not NBC News. But he didn't want to answer questions to anybody that had actually been following this saga very closely. Which is why I've yet to speak with Dave Kaval or John Fisher since they made the announcement. Now let's go ahead and look at why it's important to follow who they actually talk to. Back when they were initially starting to sell Howard Terminal, back when they were doing all these different things with the city, back and forth term sheets, all that other stuff, I actually made it a mandate that if anyone is interviewing Dave Kaval, at our station at least, it needs to be a long-form interview, and it needs to be with somebody that's actually paying close attention. Because their entire strategy is to get into these interview situations where they'll get as little pushback as possible and not have to answer questions. They can run out the clock. That's why you saw a slew of local news interviews. They know that they really only have a time of like 2 minutes to fill. So if Kaval deflects, doesn't answer questions, he knows he can run out the clock. That's why we made it so that if Dave Kaval was doing interviews, he was doing them in long-form fashion with us. That way he can't wiggle away. He has to answer questions. He has to deal with pushback. Here's one example.
Has there been any efforts on your end to extend that lease past 2024?
There have been. We had conversations last year with the JPA to extend it, but they basically tabled those conversations and said it wasn't something that worked for them at the time. So we kind of view 2024 as a pretty hard date that we have only that amount of time.
Dave, you know I talk to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I love.
I talked to the JPA. I talked to the executive director, Henry Gardner. He not only said he would entertain an extension, he said that he never, ever got official paperwork asking for a lease extension.
Now, will John Fisher ever talk to us? Will he ever talk to me? I'm not holding my breath. I don't think he ever will. I think it would be great, actually, if John Fisher and Dave Kaval at the same time did an interview. Maybe then John would feel more comfortable. He'd have Dave right next to him. He wouldn't have to feel uncomfortable on camera. I know it's not easy to sit and look into the lens or to go on TV. That's not for everybody, and I don't fault him for that. But maybe he'd be more comfortable with Dave by his side. Either way, doesn't matter. What I want to see is who John Fisher speaks to and why. Clearly, he feels the need to explain himself at this point in time with relocation filed. So who's he going to talk to? Again, is it going to be with somebody like me or somebody that's followed this really closely? Anybody in the Bay Area that's followed this closely that will actually give a little pushback? A lot of pushback? Any pushback? Or is it all going to be puff and puff pieces and deflections? I'd be guessing the latter. But I'll keep trying. I hope I hear from him. I encourage him to speak out more. A's fans deserve it. A's fans deserve to know what the heck is going on with this franchise and whether or not they end up in Vegas. They still will be here through 2024 at the very least. I have a feeling they're going to try hard to extend that lease past 2024. More on that in a future video.